right, welcome back, everybody, to Fox Weather's Hurricane HQ&A with Bryan Norcross. I'm meteorologist Bob Van Dillen alongside of the King right here. We appreciate you watching us right now. To ask a question about the hurricanes, simply scan the QR code on the bottom right part of your screen. So there it is. All right, Bryan, let's get to a couple more questions right here that are coming in right now. This right here, you can see we're looking from Jim from Dallas, and you can see his question: why was Helene so strong or bad and so long lived on land?
Well, it was strong because it was over the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico was tremendously warm. The weather pattern was quite conducive for strengthening. But it started in this really funny way out of a giant low-pressure system over Central America. So it started really big. And when storms are big and they really crank up, then they crank down much more slowly.
Right, a lot of inertia.
And it was moving north at a good clip. So you had both things happening. You had this large circulation that would, just because it had a lot of momentum, would spin down more slowly and moving fast. And so as it moved over the land, it just it could go farther, stronger, and because it was big, it brought more moisture with it. So you had all those factors that made it especially bad as it came ashore there near Perry, Florida, and then on up Augusta. You know, Augusta didn't get the love that it should have.
No, absolutely.
Because it wasn't as bad as Asheville, but it was a really bad storm, as the storm that people will remember for a long time in Augusta.
Yeah. And also they had rain before that too.
Yeah.
Tom Y. from Charleston, South Carolina. Was the impact of Helene in Asheville a one-time event, or could it happen again?
Oh, it could definitely happen again because it's happened before. In 1916, it was a very similar thing with just a slight nuance difference. So if you remember, before the Helene hit the western North Carolina, they had that pre-event, or they had this long period of heavy rain, right? And then about a foot of rain.
That was not the storm itself.
That was not the storm itself. That was just kind of a freak thing that was on the edge of the general storm system. And then a week later, Helene comes. Well, in 1916, you had a tropical storm come up from the Gulf, and then another one come a few weeks later in from the Atlantic, and they met there in North Carolina. And so it caused where it was just a couple of feet difference between those floods.
Wow.
And then there was a flood in 1940 and other floods, because if you remember, 2011, Irene went up into Vermont. Same problem. You get the tropical system in the mountains. It all comes down the hills into the valleys, and that's where the towns are.